Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Industrial Sourcing Podcast. My name is Anne-Sophie Lebloaz, and this is our first episode. My co-host today is Brice Kamga. He's the purchasing director at Kofel Group, which is the leader in manufacturing beddings. And I'm the founder and CEO of Ravacan, an online sourcing software for industrial buyers and their suppliers. Today, we have the pleasure to welcome Thomas Subert. He's the EMEA Purchasing Manager at Polaris. Polaris is the leader in manufacturing off-road vehicles. He's going to share some tips about how to effectively manage a remote team, as well as reporting to the management that is overseas.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm Anne-Sophie. We are with as well Brice.
Yes, hello, Thomas.
Hey, Brice.
So yeah, Thomas, what's your story?
Well, so my story is basically I'm French. I'm 36. I come from a general school of business, and I had, let's say, if you go a little bit more in the past, I had the scientific A levels. Then I enrolled at business school, and I had a specialized master in purchasing in the business school of Bordeaux, where I met you guys. And so basically, after this professional or educational background, I had the opportunity to work for an American company called General Mills in Switzerland for my first, let's say, role in a company. And I stayed there 2.5 years, and then I was mostly focusing there on indirect purchasing. So I had the opportunity here to explore what it means to buy non-production items and services. And after that, I just wanted to, let's say, discover a little bit more all the direct side of purchasing. And I moved to another American company called Pentair, also in Switzerland, where I stayed 7.5 years. And during that experience, I had various roles. I had a buyer role, then moved to a business unit sourcing lead. Then I had the community manager role, and I had also the great opportunity to do an overseas assignment in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai for 2.5 years. So I took over there the regional sourcing management scope for both so Middle East and India. So very enriching also experience there. And also along the way, I did a little bit of logistics. I finished a career at Pentair in indirect purchasing as well. And since a year ago now, I moved to Polaris, another American company headquartered in Minnesota. So I had, again, roles, various responsibilities. I changed a lot of times, bosses. And I think I've been working now for a bit more than 10 years. Mm-hmm. So here I am.
Great.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing at Polaris, what the company does, and what are your responsibilities?
Yeah, sure. So what I do these days, so Polaris, first of all, is a power sport company. You may know some of the products that I like to call toys for adults, because they basically just fun products to ride. You know, we have buggies, so to go in dunes or deserts or even in forests. We have the quads, to make it simple. And we also have snowmobiles, mostly obviously in northern countries in the US and Canada. And we also have, since a few times, the boat industry. So some pontoon boats, where people can actually party. Very big business in the US. And my role, part of this company, so I sit in Switzerland at the EMEA headquarters. And I have, let's say, two main responsibilities. Maybe I can explain that a little bit more. First one is I manage the strategic sourcing department, as well as what we call within the company NPI, new product implementation. And by this is basically ensuring the supplies of all components to manufacture prototypes all along the, let's say, Polaris development process that we have. So we have different schedules, obviously, with different prototype builds where we try the validity of a design and so on, see where we can improve. And so my team I have a team of 12 people divided up mostly into, I would say, so some in strategic sourcing, category sourcing, and some in NPI. And it's very interesting because I have these two hats, and I report to the global director of NPI sourcing. But if the most interesting thing is that I have the ability to work with these two teams directly, obviously, because one is completing the other. The strategic sourcing team defines where to buy the parts, and the NPI teams will then order the prototype parts and so on and so on. Yeah, very interesting organization.
Okay.
I made it brief.
I think what would be interesting to know is, for example, what kind of products specifically you are buying and what kind of commodities. And then the follow-up question would be that what you wish you knew before you started up this position.
Yeah, so very good question in the sense that, so answering the first one, Polaris is a very big company. We're talking about 30,000 employees worldwide and a $2.2 billion spend. Okay, so what I actually have my hands on in the EMEA is way smaller. Obviously, I manage $125 million, and but most of these the components and the suppliers are based in US. So I have, let's say, the possibility to work, and this is where the role is very interesting because I have a lot of possibility to relocate components. Why I'm saying that is I don't necessarily buy a lot of components through very big suppliers these days or interact in the commodity industries, which I had in previous experiences, okay? Because I'm buying either from suppliers that are being, say, who the relationship is managed by the US, my US colleagues, or let's say with suppliers in Europe for smaller parts or for, let's say, entities of big suppliers. If you take tires, for example, I can buy from Pirelli or Goodrich or whoever, you know? And yeah, so I buy a lot of different components. Obviously, in one of our products or vehicles, you can have 8,000 to 10,000 different SKUs. So I would say I'm not interacting directly with the world of commodities here. I can probably speak a little bit more about that from past experiences. What I wish I had known, and that was your question, I think I should have probably enrolled. I wish I had the opportunity to enroll in engineering school before actually mastering in the purchasing. Why? Because I think especially in these kind of industries, it's important to know exactly the detail of what you're buying. I'm not saying that this is a slowdown to your career, obviously, but what I'm saying is it could be key to obviously know in detail the functionality or some things that obviously you learn in engineering school. I'm learning a lot, and since I'm interested in these kind of products and industries, I'm learning. But I will probably always, I would say, not struggle. But if you compare to someone that has this knowledge, it could make a difference, I would say.
Okay, so essentially, you're advising people or young people that are interested in a career in procurement to actually go to an engineering school and then get some business education afterwards?
Yeah, I think it's, I would say it's not a general advice, but basically, if you know you want to work in an industry, in automotive industry, in airplane industries, also our chemical industries and stuff, I think it would be helpful. Not saying it's a must, but it's definitely very nice to have, almost a must. You can also,
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you work for a food industry, for example, you don't necessarily need it. So it depends a little bit on what you can obviously do it without it. I think it's a very helpful indeed.
Brice, had you engineering background before coming to or doing the masters in procurement?
Yes, of course. The difference. I mean, when you have to tackle some subjects, the technical background is very helpful to go straight to the point or to understand what people are manufacturing or producing. And it's help in your negotiation and all the stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So is it something like technicality and manufacturing process? Is it something you've learned the hard way, or is there anything else that it was difficult for you when you changed from indirect to direct procurement?
Yeah, it's not something that I learned the hard way, because I would say I'm continuously learning. When I was in community managers, for example, you have to understand how a tool works, on a press, a mold, on a press. And if you go to metal category, you need to understand how the machining is made. I mean, you have so many, obviously, different things that we could talk ages about that. So I'm constantly learning. Now it's a new industry for me. Automotive is completely new to me. I'm not saying that I'm able to do it, obviously, and that's great because at least it makes the content even more interesting. I would say something that I learned the hard way is resilience. What I mean by that is, basically the capacity to hold tight when the going gets tough. And for example, when in Dubai, I think this is where I really learned resilience there, despite the climate. I've been facing many times difficult personal and professional situations. And I have to say, it could have been easy, to just give up. But I was facing, let's say, suppliers giving me fake promises or integrity issues within the team, like bribery or a fire at home, or being and feeling alone, like no one to confront me with, because I didn't have, let's say, a proper team. I mean, I had some reports, but all my peers were mostly in Europe, and I was on this different side of the business. So the list is long, and honestly, I'm very proud of the courage that I had to face these adversities and to continue doing the things that I believed in. So I would say the philosophy here is never give up when it comes to resilience. That's what I learned the hard way, and I'm still using these days. Every time I'm just about to say it's hard, or why is it so complex, and so on, I'm really trying to say, okay, don't give up, calm down, and we'll try to find the positivity out of it.
And that's very interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
I want to ask you, how do you manage and how do you communicate with your colleagues, especially the ones that are in HQ? Do you have some tips, or how do you work to make sure that communication is seamless and you achieve your targets?
Yeah, no, very good question. And it's actually something that I'm these days working on, in the sense that I just had my media review with my manager. And I think I would say the thing that I struggle the most with these days is the fact that I'm located in Switzerland. I have no one from my team there. I don't report to anyone in Switzerland. I'm like the free electron. My team is based in Poland, where we have the manufacturing site, and my manager and all my peers are in US. So basically, I could be doing my work everywhere. So I feel quite at ease to do it from home, to be honest, despite the COVID environment. I think to be effective, because this was something that I was a little bit worried or concerned about when I accepted that job position. But it's actually, you need to be present. So, before COVID, obviously, I was traveling to Poland on a monthly basis, going there 3 days a month. I think the team would like to see me more, but I have also some family obligations here, and I cannot live in Poland. And I don't, for many personal reasons, don't want to travel, let's say, 2 weeks a month in Poland. So I would say I be present, organize regular calls, and I have one-on-ones with my direct reports. I have team meeting. I have dedicated meeting with some people from sourcing, dedicated meeting from people on the NPI side. So it's really a matter of keeping the communication up and going. And my predecessor, that was in the role before me then, really didn't do that much. He was really, I would say, trusting and relying on the team in Poland, and was not really much just stepping in. Why to the point that when I joined, I didn't have any file, or not even one document, one email of what these guys has done. So I was like completely lost. Not lost, but thrown in this new role with everything to build from scratch. And that was very very good thing, because I had the opportunity, and I still have the opportunity, and this is what makes my role very interesting, is to be able, to design and shape the team as I want, to define a strategy, to implement processes, to shape, let's say, this organization, sourcing organization from the way I see it, and to make it more efficient, to duplicate it a little bit more of what is being done in US. And because the US are very mature, I would say, compared to us, and it's still a new company in Europe. So that's great on this side. And it's also challenging, because I really need to be in touch regularly with the team, and sometimes you're frustrated because things are not moving the way you want, because you cannot control, obviously, everything. And I'm not a micromanager, so I will trust the team. It's also mostly based on trust. And this is something that I told my boss that I can't thank him enough to trust me, trust me in the sense that I see him like twice a year. we have bi-weekly reviews. But on the other side, I could, benefit from that situation and say, hey, I'm working, but then I'm working from the beach or whatever. I think that one of them, I'm mixing a little bit things up here, but one of the things that I'm very entitled to is the integrity. So value, which is very important to me in the sense that if you do things properly, this is the only key to success. You need to be compliant. You need to follow the values. You need to make sure you have integrity within the company. And all this to say that trust is one of them. And this is the way it works here. You trust the team, your boss trusts you, and you don't just abuse the way things are.
Okay, this partially answer to the question about your management style.
Yes, I'd say, I don't know how I could say that, but I would say I'm maybe some kind of an explorator. I'm making, my own agenda on top of all the regular meetings I have. I go with the flow. And I would say I promote openness and a lot of curiosity-driven contribution from my side with a collaborative intention. I'm constantly seeking for opportunities when asking for some information or making recommendations, for example. So I manage, as I just said, with integrity, or I try to. And again, this is like very important to me, especially from the fact that I'm remotely located and I'm also result-oriented. So I would empower people and also reward action and contribution, but I can also be very challenging. And I like details, when I'm asking for an explanation. So I would really go into the very detail to make sure I understand. Not micromanaging, obviously. I'm not behind them all the time. But I think I like the way they get empowered. And I'm very fully transparent in the sense that I would give them the visibility they deserve when they do things great. It's important to communicate, not like they do something, but I report it as I did something. Mm-hmm. I'd like to give them also the possibility that I was given during all these past experiences to show my way, or to make my way within the company.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting what you're saying, and this is something that I've experienced, that you would have commodity managers, for example, or category managers defining the strategy for their commodity and type of products. And then you would have operational buyers that actually need to execute the contract and do the day-to-day operations with the suppliers. But those operational buyers would lack the big picture and the vision, and as well the overall portfolio strategy. So is it something that actually you're sharing on a regular basis with your collaborators, or how often and how do you organize to share this big picture with them?
Yeah, good point. What I try to do, despite the regular one-on-ones that I have on a weekly basis, let's say, or if need be more, with my direct reports, I also have a staff meeting that I like to call. So meeting with all the two teams, during which, it's a great opportunity for everyone to communicate. Also, all the reports of my reports to be able to talk to me, because I don't have a meeting directly with them. But then they have also the possibility to talk between all together. We bring topics, and I also communicate about, I would say, general topics like during COVID, to obviously stay home and so on. If there is some return to office policy, I give them also a lot of, as many insights as possible when it comes to the business, where we're going, what are our competitors doing. Figures, how is the company doing from a financial standpoint, and so on. All this kind of stuff that basically I cascade from the meeting I have with my colleagues in US. So I think, again, as I mentioned earlier, and as you said, communication is key, and it's also a way to share information that I receive. I don't want to keep that one for myself, and so on. And also, I'm trying to share with them the vision I have, because I really believe in the company. I really believe in the organization since I'm drafting it, and I would like them to believe in that as well. So that's a very challenging part, because sometimes you have to change a little bit the way things are done. But for example, lately I promoted, actually yesterday, a lady within the team, and she was super happy, and I had to fight like crazy with HR and so on to make sure this was happening, despite these times, where all the companies are trying to cut costs. I was, let's say, requesting a higher salary. But then I really did it not only for her, but also because I really wanted to show the team that there are possibilities to grow up. It's very easy for someone to say, hey, I'm stuck in the role, and then they will start to look somewhere else and so on. But they are really wanting to give the message that you can grow. So this is part of all the vision. What I like with this vision, American companies are working on this LRP, long range plan. So 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and I'm trying to bring also the team. I think at least through that. And this is also what I need to what I challenge. The biggest challenge I have, I would say, is to share this vision with the team, to make them understand that if they work, there will be opportunities in the future. Because obviously a lot of people are working and need concrete changes now, saying, I do a good job, I want to be promoted to that role. I say, okay, the time will come, you need to be patient on that. If we all work, and properly, and business is growing and so on, then the journey will bring us these opportunities. This cannot happen in a
Very cool. I really like the story.
Yes. One question, because when you talk about your management style, that's very good, sounds very good. It's look like it's something which is common to American company. Do you think that in France, for example, or in Europe, you have the same values, the same management style? Because I don't believe it. In my company today, it's the same. It's great, but in my previous experience, it was difficult to see this kind of relationship. People want the team to people promoting their team, people having good relationship. Not that common. What do you believe about it?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very wide topic, I would say, which is, let's say, managing and cultures and so on. But I would say, obviously, I in the different companies I worked for, I had, let's say, a lot of different multicultural colleagues, obviously, and I had also the opportunity to manage, let's say, some Indian people, French people. Also in Switzerland, you work with a lot of different colleagues. So from a general standpoint, I think you just need to adapt. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that there is a proper one management style that work, but I think you have always the opportunity to vehiculate the message or the vision one way or the other. So I'm not saying that I will be completely changing my management style. If someone deserves a promotion, I will do it. To be very honest with you, I've not worked for a French company. Have not worked in France. But I think if I was going back to working in France, I don't know, I may experience some trouble in managing people, but because I know some people may be pushing back easier. I know working with Italian is completely different as well. Working with Indian is different. But I think I'll keep the management style. I try also to be dynamic, fun. And, I think it will just need a little bit of adaptation.
And how does it work for your company right now regarding the weight of the purchasing department? What I'm asking is that, depending on your industry, you would have more or less power as a purchasing department to get more resources or to be able to launch new projects. So how is it? And do you have to fight for your recognition as a purchasing department?
Yes, good question. I would say the type of company I'm working for is obviously very engineering oriented, and purchasing is very key here, especially this department that I mentioned that is very proper to Polaris NPI, new product implementation, because we have to be working hands in hands with the engineering. And definitely these are the two, I don't want to show off, but these are the two pillars in the company, engineering being the top because it's the biggest department there. And when you engineer a new vehicle, you obviously need very technical and skilled people. But then to make sure that you have the right components on time, from the right drawing, from proper suppliers, and so on and so on, purchasing is very key with it. So I don't struggle to, in US, I think that they don't really struggle to show, the added value of purchasing. And the good thing is it was not really well implemented or developed in Europe before I arrived. So I'm not saying that I completely, changed the way things were, but I really implemented a lot of processes and made sure that we were given the credit for many things that we were doing and that nobody knew about. So I think now I was able to really sell the purpose of having a working, well-efficient purchasing department, at least in EMEA. And the good thing is also, since we're doing, global projects, let's say launch of common vehicles in US and in Europe, the good thing is now in US, they start also to see the added value of having an effective purchasing department. Now we participate to reviews that we were not participating before. We are providing inputs. We're working on relocation projects, and we're just about to implement one of the very first relocation projects, meaning we used to buy from US, now we're going to be buying from Europe. And this is also something that I keep telling the team is like, we can show the rest of the business that we can also do things properly. So the more we'll have successes like this, and this is my role, I will be obviously communicated this back to US, and the more we'll be able to build credibility. And I think credibility here is key. Is like we have the ability to do things properly, to implement our own processes. We have a team of skilled people. We are able to source in low-cost countries, also in Europe, emerging countries, let's put it this way. So we can do, we have a lot of possibilities or opportunities to do things great.
Yeah, this is often the risk when you have a company with such, engineering power and the new technology incorporated in the products, is that the decisions are led by engineers, and sometimes the product that are over-engineered, and the buyers, they struggle to really convince the management that there is another way that we can design to manufacture as well, or design to cost.
Yeah, well, change management, I think, is one of the hardest management within a company, and when you need to convince, let's say, other departments, it can be one of the toughest negotiations.
Did COVID impacted your work?
But in terms of COVID, obviously, it impacting us big time. Obviously, it slowed down the businesses, not only ours. It forced us to shut down manufacturing locations for a while. Our suppliers also shut down for a certain period of time, or longer period of time, depending on the countries they were in. And the main task related to COVID, I would say, was to monitor what was needed, and to ensure also production and coordinate with suppliers. So on this one, as I mentioned, most, I would say maybe 80% of the suppliers are managed by my US colleague, and here they did a tremendous job, really constantly being in touch with all suppliers to see when they would reopen, what capacity. They worked on informing suppliers how critical they were for the manufacturing of our products. And in general, we had to constantly adjust to the new SIOP that was run every day. So, and I would say it also still does impact us. We still have a few suppliers, depending on the location. But if you look at India, for example, the situation is getting not better as we speak. In US, it's also it can be difficult. I mean, all suppliers are back up and running, but people are still home, and the peak has not been reached yet. Mexico was pretty difficult as well. I mean, all countries in the world, it was very intense on the NS side, and Mexico and India. And on the personal note, I'd say COVID impacted, and still does impact my everyday life, as I'm working from home and I'm not traveling anymore. So I need to really reinforce the communication with the team. Obviously, I've not seen them in the last since February now. It's time I get also the possibility to travel over there, but getting an approval these days can be very difficult. And I had to give myself some kind of a routine that I like a lot, I have to say. And I realized that a big part of my job can actually be done home or from elsewhere. But you will never replace the face-to-face meeting, obviously. But apart from that, I can really cover a lot in that.
Okay. Thomas, I would like to ask some more question about tools or techniques. Let's start with negotiation, for example. I've asked 3 questions in one. Which kind of relationship do you have with your suppliers? What is your negotiation style, if you have one or many of them? And at the end, if you can tell us about one negotiation that you are proud of, was very successful.
Okay.
The first question was the style of relationship you have with suppliers. Which kind of relationship do you build with your suppliers?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I always try to put a bit of fun, obviously, in the professional world. and I'm building a relationship of trust almost when applicable, as if we're colleagues sharing a common goal. Obviously, it's not always visible, and you have a lot of very big suppliers who you have a very low spend with, but are super critical. So these ones are very, you try to be nice, but they don't really care about you, to put it properly. But anyway, I'm really trying to build as much as possible a relationship based on flexibility, on reliability. And I like also the fact that I have the possibility to talk openly with my suppliers. So I know it's not always possible depending on culture again, or where the supplier is located and so on. You have, but I really like to have an open discussion. I'm not squeezing suppliers. This is not a goal. I'm really trying to put in place a durable solution, relationship with suppliers. Always, I like to tell myself that every time I have to talk to a supplier or negotiate or ask for something, that it's some kind of a nice call to have, not like a pain to say, I need to call that supplier because I need to reduce MOQs or whatever. I like the possibility to really openly discuss and see if we can find a solution together.
Okay, good. And about negotiation?
Well, about negotiation, I'd say what I like most, and especially when it comes to a commodity, is to have a proper cost breakdown. It's key to really go in detail completely the cost and see where the drivers are. Okay, you have to know where the main drivers are, and then I will take a look at, let's say, the commodity prices, see how they evolved recently or in the past, go through a specialized brochure or papers, or go over the internet, using payable tools, and then I think this is what they told you in schools. Preparation is key, but it's actually true. I would definitely prepare myself with what I want to achieve, define my goal, my walkaway prices, for example, what I'm ready to make compromises on, and so on and so on. I mean, really, preparation here is super important. And it's also true that sometimes you cannot negotiate much and have to let's say, somebody to somehow to accept, let's say, what the supplier wants. In this case, I try to limit the negative impact as much as possible, as there are always possibility, in my opinion, to get some. So I would say, yeah, you need to get documented. You need to follow properly a commodity, understand where the main cost drivers are, and then have different approaches to the supplier. And also, so preparation, I would say, and adapting the flow, and not stupidly asking for something if the guy in front of you is like not willing to make a compromise on that one, to just let go and go to another.
Okay. Do you have an example of a negotiation that was very successful?
Yes. So in a past experience, so when I was the community manager for plastic and resin, our injection molding suppliers were facing a shortage of a material that was produced by LG Petrochemical. And so our suppliers were buying the material through the only distributor of that material in Europe. And so they were facing this shortage, and they contacted me one by one saying that they cannot have that material anymore because of so many other reasons. One, the massive plant worldwide was shut down, and obviously the offer was smaller versus the demand. So I stepped into the matter. I met directly with the distributor, which I was not really much into in relationship with. And I also met with the guys from LG Petrochemical. I had several calls with them, several calls with the management of LG. And so we had to convince them, let's say, to allocate the smaller quantities of that material to us, or at least to our distributor, because otherwise our injection molder would not be able to produce components. And then if we don't have the components, we would have to shut down production. It's dramatic for us. So we got the material eventually a little bit, we had to schedule the deliveries and so on. But that was, I think, one of the longest, but also successful negotiation to convince LG, which is a massive company, versus the size of ours.
So thank you so much, Thomas, for your time today. That was super interesting to learn about your company, your position, and the challenges, and how you overcame them. Thank you so much.
No worries, guys. Anytime. Thanks for giving me that opportunity. And
thank you very much, Thomas.